And Beckham saw Sullivan off his line. Oh!
This is a private member's bar.
That is absolutely phenomenal.
Exclusively for the supporters of the greatest football team in the world.
Cleared, Giggs with a shot. Sheringham!
Manchester United.
Beckham into Sheringham. And Solskjaer has won it!
It's 1999 again, and United have won the treble. Ten Hag survives another week, and what to do with Greenwood. I'm Keith, along with my partner D, and welcome to the Biggie and Smalls podcast. If you like us, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. You can find us just about on any podcast platform there is out there. D, what's happening, man? How you doing?
What's going on, Keith? Not too much.
Not much. We had a last-minute shift on the show sheet. We had some news earlier come out today. Something we actually talked about on our last podcast. Pochettino has decided to leave Chelsea. He obviously must have something lined up in the can already, because I doubt he would have left without having something. Or maybe he was just that miserable over there. I don't know. What are you thinking? You still want Poch at United, D? How you feeling?
I don't know, man. Like, he definitely has experience in the Premiership. That's one thing that puts him as a candidate. Tuchel's another one that has the opportunity to be able to be a United manager because of his experience with the Premiership and the Champions League. But Poch was the number one candidate not too long ago. They did everything to get after him, and then all of a sudden the trail went cold, and they went after Ten Hag instead. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I do believe my gut says that Ten Hag might get another year under this new structure that Ineos and Ratcliffe has put in place, but we'll see. There seems to be a musical chairs going on right now with managers. You got the Brighton manager just mutually walking away. David Moyes is no longer at West Ham. Pochettino no longer at Chelsea. So there is some obviously Tuchel also coming out of Bayern.
And even fellow countryman Kieran McKenna has been mentioned quite a bit with a lot of different clubs. So there's a lot of things that could happen this summer, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely. So, and you forgot a good old your fellow countryman too, good old Allegri, or Juventus.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd be curious to see what happens. I mean, and just briefly, I mean, I don't think we want to spend too much time on the Brighton match. No. I mean, it was tale of two halves or two stories. Brighton definitely were the better team, and like you said in our text message, the stats don't lie. It came down to Martinez having a goal line save, and same with Casemiro. And then I kind of am curious if this is the new Højlund. He's been on a roll, and I thought that was a stellar goal he had in that game. It was really nice. What about you, man?
No, I agree. I definitely agree with I've seen Dallow's interview after the match too, and he said that if you watch back the match, you'll see that Dallow pulled Højlund aside after the goal, and you can see him saying something to him, and then he regurgitated what he said after the match and said that he wants that's the kind of mentality that they need at United, where he didn't start the last two matches. He didn't start against Newcastle. He didn't start against Brighton, but he came off the bench both times, and he scored a very good. Both goals were really, really well taken. Both also on his supposedly weaker right foot. So
because he's a lefty. Yeah.
Yep. So if anything, it gives a little boost of confidence going into the FA Cup final. So we'll see what he can do, if he can replicate the two goals he got against Newcastle and Brighton. But that's definitely one of the positives I've taken away from the match. That Højlund's getting on the goals again, back-to-back matches, coming off the bench. But like Dallow said, it's definitely the type of mentality you want to see from a player, especially a young player who hasn't had the best. They say he's not had the best season, but he scored 10 goals in the Premiership in his first debut season.
I think it was 16 in all competitions, I believe. 10 in the Premiership, 16 in all. Honestly, all things considered, it's not exactly terrible, and it's not like the man was getting any ball service whatsoever. So it's actually kind of remarkable that he would manage to get 16 goals in all competitions, in my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't. That's honestly what I just took away from the Brighton match. It was a nothing match. Yeah. There was one of those end of season matches.
And another shout out to our away fans. They just continually to show up. I saw it on the TV. My God, especially with all the shitty football they've seen all this year. Nobody can say about Man United fans, right, D?
No, definitely not. No, the United fans are definitely they're just a unique bunch because obviously we've been spoiled with the Ferguson years, but now they're just no, we're
Hmm.
obviously not getting spoiled, but they definitely travel in their droves. They travel well. The Palace match was a perfect example of that. They were down 4-0, but they were you could hear them over the Palace fans, and
Oh,
that's just a testament
absolutely.
to the kind of loyalty United have, the kind of just unbelievable fan base that this club has, and it's definitely it was like you said, it was great to see and great to hear during each match.
Absolutely. So we both want to touch on this a little bit too. Marcus Rashford dropped from the England team for the Euros. I'm pretty sure neither one of us are surprised. I know I'm not. Pretty sure you're not. I mean, what has he done? He doesn't deserve to be on that team. I can think of a handful of other players that deserve to be on that roster. Um, Another thing we were talking about offline in our text message that kind of concerns me about Rashford too is I was listening to Ben Foster on a podcast, and they were talking about where he'll end up in this summer, and this really stuck out to me. It was basically him saying that he'll stay at United because it's the easy thing to do, where he can not focus so much on football and just get brand endorsement deals. And I kind of agree with that. Like, if he left and went off to another club, it's no longer about the branding. It's about, all right, well, you got to play football, man, because something's clearly going on with it. Like, he's checked out. I think we both agree the talent's there. It's just, it's not consistent.
No, no, it's definitely not. And if you look at, we were talking about it earlier as well. His inconsistency through seasons, like after the Euros, he came back in 2020, he missed the penalty, and obviously him, Saka, and Sancho had a little bit of a rough go at it, especially on the disgusting stuff they had to deal with on social media from some racist messages, which is just uncalled for. Um, but he actually we took that on his shoulders, and I wouldn't say it was to the extent of Beckham in '98 with England, but it was definitely
It
up
was
there
in
with
that
kind of
area. Yeah, it wasn't quite like that, but it was bad.
uh, But yeah, it was definitely bad. But he came back in the 2021 season under Solskjaer. He was brilliant. He scored like 30 goals. I
Yeah.
think he had like 30 goals, like probably 9 or 10 assists in that season. But then the next season, he dropped off
Mm-hmm.
again. And then all of a sudden, Solskjaer gets sacked. And that was, he was his single digit goals. I think he had 7 or 8 that season in the Premiership. And obviously didn't play well under Ralph either. Then Ten Hag comes in
Yeah, first
and he
season.
starts playing well again.
Yeah, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, fast forward to this season, he's back down to single digits again. So it's these ebb and flows that he's going through. It's just sort of like, are we ever going to see a consistent Marcus Rashford that's going to get? I'm not expecting him to get 30 plus goals every single season.
No, absolutely not.
No. Based on what he's getting paid, 100%, we know you'd want to see that. But as being a Mancunian and coming through the academy, I think just every single United fan would love nothing more than to shut up every single critic and just banging goals left and right. But now we don't want him to go off and sit there and think like all 40 and 50 goals is the expectations. No, we just want him to play consistently, actually give a shit. No, there's too many times
I think that's the biggest
season.
issue with both of us is just the attitude. It just seems like it's really poor. Like, and you can't have. It's one thing if you're playing well, you can get away with that a little bit. But when you're playing like shit and you have a bad attitude, it ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, and obviously all that we just talked about, I think Gareth Southgate's seen the same thing, and hence why he didn't select him for the Euros. He probably said that.
Yeah,
he said that. He came out and said he didn't have a
not good. He's not good enough.
Yeah, he did. Well, he said that. He came out and said he didn't have a good season.
Hopefully that lights a fire under his ass and motivates him. I mean, if he's even if he was the 15, 20 goal realm or whatever, I could live with that. I could live with 20. I could live with that. Or just be creative or distribute the ball. I mean, I don't really know, man. He's just super frustrating to see such the inconsistency with him.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we'll see. Like I thought that, like you mentioned, the Ben Foster talking on the podcast, I thought that was what he said was, I think it was twofold. When he said he thinks it's going to be easy for him to stay at United, I think he doesn't mean that it's easy for him just to be. I think what he meant is that if he started a new club, you really have to hit the ground running in order to,
Yeah.
to get to have the fans really take to have the new manager you have that signed you and really want to play on the pitch. So I think that's what he meant by it's easy for him to stay at United, where the
Yeah.
expectations won't be as high if it
Yeah,
goes
well,
up to not.
especially
They should be high, but
well, yeah, if he goes to a new club and it's going to come with probably a substantial transfer fee, there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to perform. And yeah, I mean, yeah, the easy thing for him is to stay at United. I mean, I hope that's not his mentality. Hopefully, getting dropped from the team for the England team for the Euros this year, hopefully it ignites a spike under him, man, or spark. So I don't know. We'll see, man. One other thing that caught eye out from Ben Foster too in that same discussion, it had to do with Bruno, and he basically was saying that if United paid him, probably like the 30 million a year or whatever he would be looking at, he would probably stay because it would come down to like a comfort thing. Saying, not that playing for United is easy, but he's established his family there and moving wherever he ended up. If it was Saudi Arabia or whatever. Would you want Bruno back? I think I know I would. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
I know I definitely would.
100%.
And do you think Ineos would pay him to do that?
Well, that's the thing. What you're seeing, a lot of reports are saying about like Ratcliffe and the Ineos group are trying to come in and create this different, structure within the team.
Yeah, yeah.
Not overpaying the odds-on wages, not having the highest wage bill with per performances. So, but with Bruno, I think, and other former United players have said this. Like I think Rio Ferdinand came out and said the same thing, that I think that if you were going to look at United team from this past season, there's very little positives to take from it. But like the fact that Bruno. He's not injury prone. Like unfortunately, he picked up an injury which was like the first injury in his career.
Yeah,
he played so many matches with a broken hand. If that doesn't tell you that the man actually wants to play for the badge, I don't know what else does. But I would love for Bruno to stay. Like if he gets opportunity to play Champions League football on a team that could possibly compete and offer him trophies. Like Harry Kane just did that. He decided to jump ship from Spurs and join Bayern Munich, and then the curse of Kane.
The curse of Kane.
But no, if United were to get rid of him, which I don't believe they have any inclination from what I've seen or heard that they're gonna. But if they do, I think it's gonna have to be significant money. Because if they are going to do something like that, you would need to do it earlier in the transfer window, because
I agree.
They would need to spend a considerable amount of money to bring in not just one player to replace him, but
several
core group of players to come in and really establish themselves as a replacement for Bruno. So I don't think United's going to get rid of him. I don't think he wants to leave. I think he actually loves the club.
I do too, because I'm almost positive that United was one of his childhood clubs growing up in Portugal. So I'm pretty sure that he definitely wants to be there. And you hit the nail on the head just a second ago. Bruno's definitely the type of guy where even if Ineos made the exception where they want to pay him that 30 million a year or whatever that number is, I would not worry about him giving him that money and not giving in and putting in a shift week in and week out. He's proven it, like you said. He's played with injuries. He loves the badge. I would not worry about that at all with him.
Yeah, no, and that's my mindset as well. So I would try to build a team around him. I would definitely try to get, obviously Kobe Mainoo's in there as well in that midfield with him, but I would love for United to go out and get a mobile anchor is what I think Bruno needs. Casemiro, he was brought in to do that job. He's not as mobile anymore, but obviously like a Declan Rice would have been like the perfect kind of partner. I think he's mobile enough. He's got the speed, he's got strength, he can pass the ball, he can ping a ball, he can do all that kind of stuff. So it's like the kind of player they need, because that's, if you look at all the top players in the world, the playmakers like the Iniestas, the Xavis, they had the Busquets to sit behind them. So they need somebody that with that kind, and I think that's why Ten Hag was really pushing for Frankie De Jong.
I mean that would definitely, that would have made a huge difference if they were able to grab him. That's no question about that at all. w- I wanted to touch on this also. So Ten Hag, the last match at Old Trafford, uh, received a hell of a standing ovation from the home crowd at Old Trafford. And you see the things reported in the media, and fans that turned on him or whatever. That's not quite what I saw at Old Trafford. Um, your thoughts on that? I like seeing that. I appreciate that. Just shows how great our fans are. And two, when would you want Ineos to make a decision on his future, before or after the FA Cup?
I would say after, because if they make a decision before, if they're gonna have him stay, um, no, I would say it would give give the media something to stop talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if I would prefer it after, because it ended up just being a distraction. I feel going into the match.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
United at this point. United's been front page news, back page news, if you will, in certain tabloids all season for the wrong reasons. And I don't think that United need any other distractions going to FA Cup. I think they just need to, and I think Ineos has that mindset. I think in their mindset, they're just
That's the most
take each match.
important.
Yeah, just take each match as they come. Obviously, a big match, the FA Cup final, big historic match for United. And people that try to downplay it, thinking the City's going to bat them. We'll see what happens.
Well,
But
and let's be honest here. I mean, for obvious reasons, this is a Man United pod. I don't think either one of us want to Man City to be the first team to repeat double. I know I sure as shit don't want to see that. So
no,
maybe they'll surprise us. I heard somebody say this. I wouldn't be surprised if we won, but I also wouldn't be surprised if we got our dicks blown off 7-0.
Well, here's my mindset. I would love nothing more than for players like Rafael Varane, who we know is leaving,
Mm-hmm.
to go in there and play one of his best matches that
Oh,
he
yeah,
ever
yeah.
played for United. That kind of thing, because then he would just literally just leave. He might not have had the best tenure at United, but if he was to play man of the match type match on against
Well,
City,
I think it goes without saying he's probably our best center back on the team by a long shot. Even at the whatever age, can't remember his exact age, at the latter end of his career. I think we can both agree on that.
Well, I think he's definitely he's a good center. I still think the best center back at the club is Martinez by far.
Oh,
I think I think his absence this year on injuries, I think played a huge part of it. Part of why the team sort of were crumbling in the back and facing so many shots. And you see, you read reports and you hear stories and you listen to podcasts from former professionals that are saying that he supposedly is the voice of the locker room, of the changing room. Like he's the man that seems to be the heartbeat of the change room. Like he's loud, he's the personality, he gets people laughing, he gets people playing harder, training, that kind of thing. So I think his absence and the team definitely played. So, but we'll see what happens. I hope to God, but that United play well. But to your point with the fans, to refer back to the podcast we did with good old Samuel Luckhurst, he said the same thing, that from what he's experienced and what his fellow colleagues were talking about, is that he's not seeing the fans turn on Ten Hag the way the fans have turned on previous managers like the Mourinho's, the Van Gaals, the Moyes, even Solskjaer at that point, where people were saying
it's time, enough's enough.
Yeah, people were worried that Solskjaer, if he stayed on at United, that it would have left his legacy of a player in tatters, because it was he may have started destroying the legend status that he created as a player. But I don't think but I think you can clearly see and this is back to what we talked about earlier, with the fans being unbelievable, traveling, travel away to Palace, travel away to Brighton, which especially Brighton's not exactly we hop and skip down the road, but and there's Palace. But I think if the fans were to turn on Ten Hag, I think we would have seen a couple of banners. The fans saying ETH. Ten Hag gone.
Because we definitely saw that. Mourinho, we did. Then
Moyes.
we definitely we saw all of that. And you're right. So we haven't seen any of that as of yet.
Yeah, and I think the fans at this point understand that there's only so much a manager can do. Like, he can prepare the players, but it's up to the players to also do the job on the pitch. And we clearly see that some of these players aren't. We mentioned Rashford earlier; he doesn't seem to really be giving the effort. Some of the other players have been doing the same. There's actually been some, like Wayne Rooney actually came out after a match and said that it seems that some of these players are almost like using the injuries for excuse to just hide, to not play.
Yeah, to
That they're
basically just mail the season in, and all right, we'll rest up for the FA Cup, and
exactly so.
then we'll go on. If they're not playing for, they're in the Euros or whatever, then we'll just get ready for holiday. I mean, and I agree with them. I mean, it's like you can't do that. Get play.
So, like,
If you're fit, play every damn game.
yeah, well, as I said, Bruno played with a broken hand for long enough, and then, but back to the fans, like, they're unbelievable. Like, they really are. They're the best fans in the world, and like I said, we've been spoiled during the Ferguson for 26 years, and now we're going through, best way I want to describe it is trials and tribulations, but they still show up and they still shout, they still support the team, and they're supporting the manager. And I think at this point, United fans, I could just, I'm speaking just based on what I'm seeing. They're not stupid. They're not stupid. They're knowledgeable football fans. They understand like what's going on. They understand that has recruitment been great. Has a manager been brought on. But I think at this point, I think us as fans are tired of seeing the manager being held as scapegoat for bad performances.
Yeah, well, and let's not also forget this too: bad player performances. But the Glazers, not selling the team, and then doing absolutely nothing in the transfer window. So, when you really factor in all that, I guess you could maybe make a small case that he finished with 60 points in an eighth place. Are you like a manager of the year candidate? I mean, of course, I'm being facetious, but I mean, when you think about that, it's kind of wild, no?
No, definitely. All you have to do is just look at the state of Old Trafford as a stadium. Like after the Arsenal match, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And I think the fans are seeing that too. The fans understand that has Ten Hag really been? Does he have the structure behind him that's going to set him up to catalyze any kind of successful seasons? No. So we'll see now what Radcliffe and Jason Wilcox and the rest of them are going to be able to do with this new Ineos regime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, and I have no reason to doubt him yet. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I give them the keys to the castle and let them do their thing until proven otherwise.
Yeah, I think next season. Let's see what he does next season, and then. But again, there is candidates out there now that know the Pochettinos and stuff. So we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
I wanted to see what they do in the FA Cup match, and if the players really are, as dedicated to the club as they claim to be on their social medias and social media platforms, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that'll definitely tell if they put a shift in for the FA Cup final, then that'll tell us everything we need to know about some of these players. All right, shifting gear. I know we both watched a recent interview with Onana with Gary Neville. I thought it was really well done and even quite humorous at certain times. A couple things that stood out to me is, one of the first things that he said, being the keeper for Man United is the hardest position out of all the teams in Europe or in the world. And, you really think about it, all the great keepers that we've had at the club, it's quite remarkable. And I guess, you realize that as a fan, but when you hear it, it kind of, puts it in perspective or whatever. And another thing that stood out to me, and which we've also talked about previously on the podcast, is how he said, obviously, when he got off to a really rough start, he started naming off a few other people, but one of the names that we heard or brought up in the past is Harry Maguire, basically being, a calming voice for him. And I thought that spoke to a lot of his character. He also mentioned Bruno as well. So, yeah, those are some of the things that stood out to me. I know you had a couple different thoughts on the interview as well.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Like, I think just in general, I think the Man United jersey, regardless of your position, is a heavy jersey.
Yes.
I think, outside, like, he is right that United have had unbelievable goalkeepers in the past. Like Peter Schmeichel's, who I idolized growing up, he was one of the main reasons I wanted to be a goalkeeper. Edwin van der Sar, who I place as the best goalkeeper to play for Manchester United, and the reason why is because at the time United went through several goalkeepers before they finally got to Van der Sar after Schmeichel. When Schmeichel left, they brought Barthez. Didn't work.
Yep.
They went and got they tried Van der Hoe.
Oh,
Didn't work.
didn't
They
work.
tried
Wait.
Bosnich. Didn't
Oh,
work.
yeah,
Tim Howard. Didn't work.
Howard for a few
Ricardo
years.
didn't work.
Yep.
And there's Charles as well, the Northern
Carl.
Ireland
Yep.
international. So they finally got to Van der Sar, ironically from Fulham, and they should have snapped him up when he went from Juventus to Fulham. But the I think the reason why he felt that the jersey was so heavy as well was because he played for Ajax, and Van der Sar was general manager at the time, was part of the operations over there. So I think talking with him, he even said he still talks with Edwin van der Sar on a regular basis. But I do believe that any jersey from Man United is going to be heavy. Like, particularly the number 7 is always iconic. That's going to be a heavy jersey. So, but we'll see what happens. We touched on Harry Maguire's character earlier in a few other podcasts, and it's good to hear that it's not just us fans noticing it, and some of the media also giving him the credit due. Also, his fellow players and his colleagues are coming out and giving him, rightly so, giving him some some positive feedback.
Exactly. And another thing that really stood out to me, and I really appreciate it, is Neville asked him, about, how bad the season's been and all the pressure, and he, smacked his chest and he was like, I'll handle it. That's what I'm here for. And I thought that was a phenomenal answer. I'm pretty sure you did too.
Yeah, well, I can tell you right now that every single goalkeeper in this world they're not normal people. Like, they just not, because it is the most unique position. Like, you make a mistake and it's a goal, and like every set of eyes is on you. If you're a forward and you make a mistake, you miss a 1-on-1, whatever, he'll get another chance. You don't get another chance to be able to prevent a goal from happening again. No, and obviously you make saves. That's not what I mean by that. But I'm saying, like, once a goal goes in, you can't get it back. That's it. It's in the net. A forward might miss a 1-on-1, but he might end up getting a hat trick right after it. So therefore, no one remembers the miss. They remember the hat trick. Where a goalkeeper could have an absolute clanger and like drop the ball or whatever. Like De Gea had that in his first few seasons for United, and ended up becoming the all-time leader in appearances for Man United. So I did like that, and that's a good mentality to have as a goalkeeper. The one that and I heard him also. We mentioned that he's there. He was like, "Let me take the bullets," kind of mindset. Where if there's stuff going on, that's what I'm here for. That's the kind of teammate you want. That's the kind of mentality you want. And hopefully that starts
reverberating.
The team.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I thought it was a really well done interview, and I really enjoyed it. Shifting gear, I know we both we put a poll up on our Instagram account about Mason Greenwood's future at the club, and actually let me pull it up. Last I checked, it was, I believe, most people, it was, let's see, all right, so it's 58% want him back, 42% do not want him back, which, that's kind of baffling to me, but, we're not here for judgment, D. Yeah, again, I want nothing to do with him, and even seeing some of the comments on our Instagram account is just like, what is wrong with some of these people? I thought, you noted one of the guy's name. I'm drawing a blank on his handle. I thought he had the most logical, insane comment on our post. So I want to give him a shout out. Do you have his handle in front of you right now, D?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, it was Andy_Bianco. He was actually he was probably the most logical response to the some of the comments and stuff, and obviously with what my position was on it. And instead of thinking just one-sided, he was very just logical, and he said that he understands why some people don't want him back because of what occurred. But at the other side, he can understand that Mason Greenwood is a talent, and you don't want to just not support him, and he's obviously going through a rough time. He was young and all, so he was definitely given the most logical response. But the one was part of his comment that really stood out to me was he talked about the women's team and how the women's team has had success recently. So not only have they had success, but I think as a result of that success, they've earned the right to give their opinion on what they believe would be the best solution for Mason Greenwood at the club. Like,
Absolutely.
they should at least have their say. So I have to give a shout out to good old Andy, because that was really well thought, and that was definitely one of the more enlightening comments that I've seen on there. Compared to others,
absolutely. And a lot of times, you find a lot of stupid stuff on social media these days. So it's nice to see that. So we want to give a shout out to Andy on there. And back to that, I mean, there was a press release from Women's Man United fan club, and I mean, it was pretty. I don't want to say damning, but I mean, it was basically more or less all the things that we've all talked about, and it's like, if you bring them back, what are you doing, and what's the message that it sends, to players and even young kids or whatever. So I mean, yeah, please just do the right thing. Don't bring this guy back.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. At the end of the day, it's not like, as fans, it's, we can only give opinions, and some people agree with them, some people don't. But that's the great thing about opinions, is that you're allowed to have them. So we'll just let Ineos take everyone's opinion in there. I do believe that Ratcliffe and his entire group have the best interest of the club at heart. So we'll see what they do. But
Yeah,
it's going to be one of the most interesting summers for United.
Absolutely, and that, honestly, that's something that we haven't had at United in a really long time, where someone who is genuinely cares about the club, where the Glazers are just absent and they've looked at it nothing as more as just basically a line item on an Excel spreadsheet to them, and how they could milk it for more money. So yeah, now that Ratcliffe is there, yeah, I have full confidence in him that he'll do the right thing. And if they do bring him back, I think that would be pretty damning, and would say a lot about their mindset and how they view things.
Yeah. So we'll see. It's up to the club now at this point. So, and then obviously there's other factors that will be involved. Whether he has what we talked about it earlier. Greenwood's got 1 year left in his contract. Expires next summer in 2025. He also has an option to extend, which I don't believe that's going to be offered to him. So there is 1 year left. So either they mutually part with him and let him end his contract early with no punishment and with no financial reasons, and then he can go ahead and be a free agent and sign with whoever he wants. Or did they want to go ahead and get dragged into a tug of war between another club that's willing to offer $5 million or even less? So
I mean, if they could get something for him, why not? I mean, I'm at the point where if you can't, I'd be okay with just saying, cut your ties with them, and if you can find something in Spain, Italy, or Germany, or wherever, or France even, or whatever, I say all the power to you. Do what you gotta do, man. That's totally fine with me. I don't mind completely cutting our losses from this guy. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree with you, and I think, like you rightly said as well, I don't know if Ineos wants to start off their true tenure, because they obviously took over. They bought their 25% stake in the club sort of in the middle of the season. Did they really want to go into a brand new season with that dark cloud falling over the top? Because there's so many other stuff going on. Like, let's say there's just so many different variables and different components that literally need to be put into this club that needs to get it towards the trajectory of being successful. So I think that might be one of the easier decisions they need to make, from my personal opinion and yours. But we'll see. We'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I mean, like we've previously discussed, it's like, there's so many other things going on with the club. Why add that an unneeded distraction when you can just wipe your hand clean from it and say, and even if he is a changed man, I'm not really sure he is, all the power to you, man. Do you, and we're going to do our thing. All the best to you. We wish you well, and be done with it.
Yeah, help him. I think the club can try to help him as much as they can, and put him in a position to be successful and work on himself and stuff. But like, I don't think that the club can allow him to do that at the club. that they can do everything in not only their best interest, but also the best interest of Mason Greenwood by getting him a club that he would fit into, that can get him the kind of support that he obviously would need at this point. So in his career, because as I said, he is young. I don't want any. That's the one thing. Like, you don't want him to be tarred and feathered in public square over and over and over again. So, but I personally just would rather him
do it somewhere else.
Yeah, apply his trade elsewhere.
Absolutely. All right, shifting gears. So FA Cup coming up. Where City, how are you expecting the team to line up for this game, and what are your expectations for this one? Do you think we see Højlund starting for this one?
I think I would like for Højlund to come up, but maybe Ten Hag has a plan for him. Maybe Ten Hag's trying to save him, and like see what happens with Man City, and then how the game ebbs and flows, and how Man City's set up, which we all know they're going to be dictating the possession, dictating the pace of play, the tempo, the whole 9 yards. But the last couple of matches, he brought him on when and Ten Hag said this, that he brought him on when he realized that the other team were showing they were been a little bit leggy. But the big difference between being leggy in the second and last match of the season and an FA Cup is final is two different things. Like, players grow up and literally imagine themselves playing in this match. So I don't think that.
I think you got that little extra adrenaline rush and energy boost, and honestly, if you don't and you can't get excited about playing in a cup final, then you're probably not the right person to be on the team to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I think a lot of it's got to do with who's going to be available. Like what players have made it back. Like, is Harry Maguire going to be fit? Is Luke Shaw? Like Luke Shaw, I was surprised they got called up by England, because
I actually am too, and I've heard some different podcasters talking about him and loving on. I think he's a very talented player, but I mean, where you been, man? You haven't been playing much, I can tell you that much.
Averaging like 20 matches a season kind of thing over the last 10 years. But maybe they know, they get the insights. Like, I'm sure Southgate's got the medical team from the England team contacting the United medical team, O'Driscoll and them, and asking them like, hey, is he going to be ready? And they could say, yep, he's ready. Like, for all we know, he could play this Saturday. We just don't know what's going on, because I can tell you right now, I have no fucking idea where Malacia is, and he's been missing for a while. So you just never know what's going on. But I do think that in terms of what's going to happen this Saturday in the FA Cup final, I think it all is going to be determined by who's fit, who's available for United, and then we'll just have to see from there. But I'm hoping to God we actually get a result. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I am too. I really don't want City to be the only team to go back to back. I that would just suck. So I really hope the players put a shift in and give us something to watch. And I just hope it's not embarrassing. But again, I could see it going either way. I could see us somehow surprising and winning it a game, or I could see us just getting blown out. Another thing I was reading about online, and it looked like Ten Hag employed this in the Brighton matches. Bruno, having him in a false nine role didn't really seem like it was working much. In your opinion, I mean, what tactic-wise, what would you think ETH should be doing for the FA Cup?
He did try the Bruno in the false nine against. He did it against Newcastle. He did it against Brighton. But United they don't have someone like Bruno in the deeper part of the midfield. So Bruno can pick a pass like nobody else. Like he really can. He's unbelievable at that. Like, if you watch United over the last few years, when they really set themselves up to be this counter-attack team, he spearheaded it. Bruno did with his passing, his vision. So putting him so far up the pitch in a false nine position, it doesn't allow United to dictate a lot of stuff from building it from the back. And
Yeah.
so I think I'm hoping with the injury, we did see Varane against Brighton. We did see Licha, did see Martinez against
Hmm.
Brighton. So I'm thinking maybe it'll be Armand Bissaka starting right back, obviously
Yeah.
on nets. Maybe Varane,
And
Martinez again, a good partnership there. And then Dallo left back.
back.
Garnacho, we are mad as he's played well. Diallo's played well, but I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it maybe this match maybe might start him. I don't know. I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
midfield the midfield will be obviously maybe Bruno, Menu, and maybe Casemiro. He slots
Yeah.
him in that defensive
I,
role. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, I would much rather see him there than at center back. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
Although I guess
Oh,
when you save I know he had the one in the last game. I think he had one another time too. So yeah, I think we were
yeah.
half jokingly around in our group chat, best center back in the world, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, from the two clearances off the line, he's been. Oh,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I think it definitely. I think we'll find out more as the week goes on of what exactly is going to happen in the match in terms of like the formations, tactics, personnel being played in certain positions based on injury list. If it's going to be extensive
Yeah.
as it's been for a while, Ten Hag's going to have to try to be creative. But then we'll see. I will hope to God
Yeah.
that we do get a. But I would like to see Hoyland start, but I can understand why Ten Hag brings him off the bench. But I think Man City's is a different beast in terms of they have so much depth in their team. I don't think we'll see the same fatigue that we've seen. Like Newcastle was a bit depleted as well with injuries.
Yeah.
Brighton were the same way. Brighton, like no, they didn't have no Dunk wasn't playing their captain for
Yeah.
Brighton this past weekend. So Webster was in their form. Webster played well, but then Webster had to come off with concussion protocol. So the last two matches aren't really indicative of what how United's going to set up. So we'll see. But I really genuinely hope that United, like you rightly said, that Ten Hag sets up a team that's actually just going to go at it and just. I would love for them to go at City and just play balls to the wall for 90 minutes. If they lose, but go out in your shield. I'm tired of this timid approach of just getting bossed in the midfield. The other team getting more possession, more shots, more corners, more touches in United's final third, and United having one shot on target for 90 minutes. I don't want that. I want United just to go at them.
No.
I want them,
Put it all on the line, man.
the same mindset they had against Liverpool in the quarterfinals. Like
Mhm.
they went at them. Like they didn't play well in the first half. They were lucky not to be down 3-0, but Ten Hag made the adjustments and obviously we know what the results were. There were 4-3 and over extra time one. So
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess I don't. I mean, I'm not the religious type, but maybe I'll say a prayer that day or whatever and see what happens. Shifting. Speaking of miracles, I have not been able to start this yet. You said you watched the first one, Amazon's 99 debut. I know just from watching the trailer. I am super excited to start this. I think I'm gonna start this tonight after our pod. Just from the nostalgic sentiment and bringing back all those memories. I mean, my God, what a hell of a season! And so you've actually watched an episode. I don't know what do you think of it, man? It had to bring back a ton of memories.
oh no, it definitely did. I remember that season. I remember I wore the black and green. Like, it was the black away jersey, and I wore it every single match. No, every single day. Then we had a match for the Champions League. I remember watching all the Champions League matches up in my grandmother's house, and I was fortunate enough to actually be at the Champions League final in '99 in Barcelona.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my father, my grandfather, and I were there. We literally, I don't think my grandfather and I slept for like almost 24 hours trying just because of the travel we had to do to get there. But there was a lot more stuff that I didn't even Gary Neville even said he didn't know about. Like, so United were going through a for lack of a better term, a wake up call when Arsene Wenger came into Arsenal and won the double in 97, 98. And they opened up the season. Ferguson went out with a mindset that he really wanted to try to get rip that title back off of Wenger.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there was stuff I didn't know about, and when I mentioned I didn't know about. Ferguson actually handed in his resignation before that
Oh,
season,
wow.
before the 98-99 season, because there was a disagreement that obviously, as it's well documented now, but like Ferguson got really interested in horses, the Rock of Gibraltar,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
one of them.
yeah.
And Edwards, the president of the club at the time, and one of the chairman and owners,
Mm-hmm.
he sort of he wrote it down. He sent Ferguson like a letter and told him that I think you need to put your focus on the team rather than your extracurricular activities. And
Yeah, yeah,
Ferguson, as you could all imagine, his response to that,
yeah.
he he actually he handed in his resignation. I didn't know this, so but he thankfully he actually
Yeah,
and I can guarantee, no, God rest Kathy, but I guarantee Kathy Ferguson had something to do with that, because that woman, like, for as successful as Ferguson was, like she has absolute pillar. Like, I think a lot of decisions that man made was probably sitting down at the kitchen table, sitting down having a cup of tea on the sofa, watching TV or whatever, and he probably bounced so
was
many
good.
different ideas off
Yeah,
that woman.
exactly. For all we
And
know, she could have been the the
the
woman.
tactician,
Yeah, exactly.
but no, but he changed his mind. Came back, and I think it was obviously down to his, Ferguson had that, he doesn't like to lose him attitude. But the first episode was definitely nostalgic. It gave you a lot more insight of what the club was like. I know we've talked in the past about, the how players that don't like one another,
Hmm.
they put it aside for the better of the team. And we talked earlier about a few podcasts prior about, sharing him and Andy Cole.
Hmm.
That documentary goes into that a little bit. It actually shows you the actual
The
the
actual
event.
snot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, and so you could see that, and then you heard some. So Dwight York seemed to be the chief orchestrator of all the extracurricular parties and so forth. But you definitely get a lot more insight to the team.
Yeah, yeah.
And it obviously, I was 12 at the time and so impressionable watching that team, and obviously getting to see them live and see them in one of the most important, if not the most important match in the history of the club, in the Champions League final '99. It's really good now. Fast forward 25 years later, to get the insight of how that team really clicked.
Yeah, yeah, that's honestly, whenever I watch these type of things, I am always looking to hear the stories of what's happening in the locker room,
Yeah.
who's getting along with who, or who's the jokester and all that sort of stuff. I'm generally really looking forward to this and see all the dynamics of that team, because as we all know, there was a lot of characters on that roster.
Oh, 100%. So, yeah, we definitely really hearing about Andy Cole and Dwight York, how their partnership really, bloomed into what it was great to hear from both sides, from Dwight York and Andy Cole.
Hmm.
And it was like, little things that just being a decent person was literally what really catalyzed Andy Cole and Dwight York's relationship. York signed from Aston Villa. Everyone had Cole as a result leaving because
Hmm.
they signed Dwight York. Dwight York at the time, a lot of money, 13.1 million. And they thought, okay, Andy Cole's going to leave, but instead of leaving, he stayed. And him and as the history shows, that they were unbelievable as a tandem up front.
Yeah.
But it only started because Andy Cole, instead of holding a grudge against Dwight York, thinking, well, you're coming in to take my job, and I'm going to go ahead and take the huff and and not talk to you. He actually did the reverse. He reached out to him and invited him out and showed him around Manchester and brought him around his family and all that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. To the point where Dwight York was like, Jesus, he's like, and
Yeah,
he
what?
also said, well, Dwight York's from Trinidad and Tobago. Andy Cole's family's from the Caribbean as well. Obviously different islands, but he said that
He,
sort of
that
that
probably had a
heritage.
little bit of like you said,
Yeah,
the heritage, a little bit of bond there, you know.
yeah, that was very natural.
Hmm.
For them,
Yeah,
it wasn't something that they had to try to do. It was just very organic between the two of them.
yeah. It's not like it was, yeah, organic. It wasn't forced. It was a very easy friendship. It seemed like.
Yep. So, but no, I would definitely. I'm sure a lot of United fans already watched it. Obviously, I'm 2 episodes on, but it was just very nostalgic to see, especially growing up to watch that team and watch
Yeah.
them all the matches. I watched them, and then from
Do
the
you
ups and
ever,
downs.
so when you watch stuff like that, like I've watched other documentaries of other favorite sports teams, and it's like you watch those or even old YouTube videos, do you still get the goosebumps or the tingles on your body? Like, remember what you were doing when, where, like, I know I do. I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of crazy, man.
Oh no, I definitely do as well. Especially just like you hearing stuff that, especially from the people you idolized growing up. Like I
Yeah.
idolized obviously Roy Keane just because he was Irish captain and he was
Hmm.
like I had my first jersey I ever bought to me was the 94-95 away black jersey and number 16 Keane on the back. But then
Hmm.
as I got older and I started getting slower as I got bigger. I became a goalkeeper, and then Schmeichel obviously was my idol, but Keane was still always had that place in my heart because of the Irish connection. But I didn't. But it's funny to hear that they hated one another at one stage. Keane and Schmeichel.
Yeah.
And
that's wild.
You would never have known it watching them play together.
No,
and
I mean, like the way that have that team, the way they continue, like the success that they had. Yeah, like you said, it's incredible with just all the different dynamics about it and who liked who and who didn't like what or whatever. That is remarkable.
I think hate might have been a strong. They definitely did.
Peter Schmeichel. Yeah.
Well, Peter Schmeichel said, he goes, it's not like we socialized. It's not like we went out and hung out and had a few pints. Like, we were never like that. So, playing sports, you can get like that with some teammates. But it's 100% recommended for anybody who wants to relive the good old glory days of United, especially the best.
Well, I mean, honestly, let's be honest here. It's been a rough, especially this season. It's been horrendous. So, I mean, I think we could all use a little a little rundown memory lane and nostalgia. So I know I definitely am gonna start this. I'm probably gonna start it tonight. I'm super excited to start it. Well, man, we're 50 minutes in, and I think this is a good place to wrap up for us. Quick prediction for the FA Cup. What do you got?
Would love to say 3-2 United.
3-2 United. I am going to go. I'm gonna go 2-1 United.
I'm only saying 3-2 because I know they're not gonna. They leak goals, unfortunately.
Yeah, they're not. There ain't no way they're keeping a clean sheet. I can tell you that much.
I'm hoping it's gonna be like a very similar situation to the comeback that the empty had under Mourinho when they were down 2-0, and then came back to 1-3-2. The same with Liverpool. 1-0, and they came back to win 4-3 in the quarterfinals. So the magic of the FA Cup never ceases to amaze. So we'll see what happens.
Nope, you can't count anything out in the FA Cup. I know we'll both be watching. Actually, maybe we'll have to chat offline about plans for that if we can maybe all get together for a pint or whatever. But yeah, man, it's been a fun episode. If you feel like you want to leave us a review or subscribe to us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, shoot us a like or a subscribe. Leave us a review. Follow us on Instagram. We're also on Facebook. And we will talk to you next week.